Picture this. You're a detective working on a high-profile case, something involving the disappearance of a big bag of diamonds. The commissioner's got a lot riding on this, so the chief of police is breathing down the back of your neck, and you need a breakthrough ASAP. Luckily for you, your officers just apprehended 2 men who fit an eyewitness description. Unfortunately, only one of them committed the crime. Both of the men are swearing up and down that they're innocent. So how do you spot the liar from the truth teller? You could always go with the traditional route, of course, and check to see whether or not their pants are on fire. But rumor has it that over the years, liars have become able to somehow fireproof their undergarments, forcing truth seekers to establish other methods of detecting foul play. Fortunately, there are several other tells that liars aren't so good at covering up yet. Stay tuned till the end of this video to find out how one specific word can give a liar away. We'd be lying if we said we didn't want you to like and subscribe to the Brainiac YouTube channel, so go ahead and do that right now. Before we find out how people lie, we need to understand why people lie. On the surface, we're all morally appalled by lying, right? But the reality is, we live in a world of lies. Studies show that you'll be lied to somewhere between 10 to 20 times today, even by the ones you love most, or especially by the ones you love the most. After all, lies don't have to be nefarious things. In fact, harmless white lies are incredibly common. Phrases like, "This food tastes great," "Your baby looks adorable," "Your mixtape is amazing," are all examples of things people will say but not actually mean, in the hopes of keeping you happy. Lying takes 2 to tango, so lies that flatter the listener tend to go more unnoticed. After all, parents want to believe that their baby is cute, so they won't look too closely into whether or not you're giving them a true opinion. Remember, good liars take advantage of your desires. Lying is so intuitive to human beings, we start doing it almost from the day we're born and never stop. As a baby, you lie by fake crime. As a 1-year-old, you get a little sneakier and start hiding things. As a 2-year-old, your poker skills start developing as you learn how to bluff. By 5, you're manipulating people via flattery, and by the time you're in college, you're so adept at lying, you'll lie to your own mother once every 5 interactions. So lying is inseparable from the human condition, and it's also essential to maintaining delicate social ties without offending one another. But at the same time, you don't want to be naively taken advantage of by people for their own gain. So how can you tell if someone's lying? You might be surprised to hear that technology isn't the answer. Yet. Lie detector tests have been around for a while, but they're far from foolproof, despite what shows like CSI Miami might tell you. Newer ways of detecting lies, like brain scans and eye movement trackers, are more effective, but they're still far from 100%, and it might be a little difficult to convince a liar to submit to a brain scan. Want to know the easiest way to tell if someone's lying? They'll tell you. Sure, they might not outright say it, but deep down, all liars are hoping to be caught. There are a ton of verbal and non-verbal cues that someone is lying. And once you know what to look for, they're very easy to pick out. Let's start with the verbal. Ironically enough, liars tend to start their own story with a qualifying phrase like, "honestly," or "to tell you the truth." They also usually restate the question before responding to it, likely to buy themselves a little time to think of their answer. Once they've figured out what they're going to say, they'll overcompensate by going above and beyond in offering details, even when they're not necessary. So maybe the best way to lie is to say nothing at all, but even then, your body will betray you. Think about the suspects from earlier as you picture your typical liar. What do you see? A person fidgeting with their hands, someone who won't look you in the eye? These are commonly acknowledged mannerisms of a liar. So common, in fact, that liars try to do the opposite. They'll freeze your upper body in place or hold your gaze for a little too long. Liars may also increase the amount that they blink, pointing their feet towards an exit or subconsciously start building a little wall between themselves and the interviewer. Some tells are actually incredibly obvious once you know what to look for. For example, liars will shake their head no while saying yes, and vice versa, their body revealing the truth they desperately want to hide. Liars are careful to guard their expressions, but even the most vigilant liar will let a glimpse of emotion through once in a while. Being aware of this and keeping an eye out for those flashes of emotion can help tip off as to whether or not someone is trying to deceive you. Finally, the best way to discover a liar might actually be to act as if you believe them. They'll be so relieved they got away with it, they'll be unable to stop themselves from smiling. This action, known as duping delight, is common amongst liars and an easy way to determine the truth. It's worth noting that these actions are relatively common amongst humans in general. Like sometimes people have dry eyes. It could just be a coincidence that the child insisting that his dog ate his homework is in fact facing an exit. But if you see multiple red flags over a short amount of time, then chances are the person you're talking to is trying to pull a fast one. If you do suspect someone is lying, do yourself a favor and take it easy. Becoming accusatory and aggressive will cause that person to close off and shut down. Instead, ask questions, probe their story, and surprise them. Think up a question they wouldn't have already thought an answer to, and try to make them trip up on their own. If you're really determined to catch a liar, ask them to tell their story backwards and look for some of the tells mentioned earlier. Liars tend to map out their story chronologically, so telling it backwards forces them to retrace their steps and makes it more likely they'll stumble. Now ask yourself, is lying really worth it? Studies show that honesty really is the best policy, at least when it comes to your physical and mental health. Lying can lead to stress, high blood pressure, and heart problems, amongst a host of other health issues. Plus, all that mental planning to make sure you don't get caught takes a lot of effort, leaving you physically tense and mentally drained. Oh, and the one word you should pay attention to when looking for a liar? No. If a person says no and looks away, or closes their eyes, or hesitates first, or says it in a sing-song way, odds are they're trying to deceive you. Remember, liars are nothing if not adaptable, so they might even be able to use some of these tells against you. But as long as you're vigilant and know what to look out for, you might be able to catch a liar red-handed.